Hey guys, welcome back to Heck Yes. It's me, Carissa Wu. I have a very special guest, Shaun Austin, visionary of Kiss albums. I've been using his company for 12 years, and his albums are very simple. They have the best colors, the best customer service, and like I said, they make it very easy on their customers. So, welcome, Shaun. What's up?
Thank you so much for having me. That's awesome that you've been using us for 12 years. We've only been around for coming up on 15 years, so you got us from the get-go just about.
Yeah, we're both veterans. We've been around the town for a long time, both me and
Yeah.
you. And I got the chance to reconnect with you at Evolve workshops right before pandemic hit in Palm Springs. And I was
Oh
like, what
yeah.
up, Sean?
Yeah, they had one since then, real one of the bigger ones. But yeah, Palm Springs was their first big one. That was such a great one. I love that.
Yeah, how many like events do you go to like per year?
I travel a lot. I'm on the road a ton. Event wise, I'm probably at like workshops and like if you add the conferences, workshops, and then things the size of like Evolve, probably like 8 or 9 a year. We're trying to be specific with ones that we want to go to.
Uh-huh,
The
uh-huh.
big conferences are struggling, and so we're not sure where to invest our money with those. But we're backing off of the big ones like WPPI was had a great run. We're just not investing our money right there right now, but we
Mm-hmm.
love the Evolve and the United and the ones that are that size, as well as like I'll just hop out to some of our ambassador workshops and do education there as well. So I love it. About 8 or 9 a year.
Yeah, I was so excited when you were on like my IGTV 2 years ago. And yeah, I feel like if you're a photographer, everyone should know about you, Kiss Books. Your books just really stand out from the rest. I think it's because of like the website and how you like curate your style so perfectly and make the user experience so seamless. But I guess we could just go into more about you, like young Sean, like
Mm.
where are you from? Like where did you grow up, and tell me your hobbies like growing up, and then how you became this like successful entrepreneur running this empire.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I was born and raised out in Southern California. I spent a long time out there. I just moved to the Midwest like 10 years ago. So my upbringing was in Orange County, born and raised athlete, creative. I played drums and I played baseball. And then as soon as I started a career, I went into printing actually. So I was running a
Oh.
printing press outside, just outside of high school. I ran a printing press, and that's what I say my last real job was. My dad
Mm.
always owned his own business, so I learned a lot of what it's like to live in an entrepreneur's house, the
What did your
good,
dad
bad, and
do?
the ugly. Yeah. What'd you say?
What did your dad do?
So he ran a few businesses. It was really interesting. My dad showed me. So he ran a trucking company, does not have his class A license. He ran a mechanic shop, never was a mechanic. He ran a limousine service that he drove for, but didn't really, never had run a limousine service before. So he got into all these companies. The trucking company was the longest one, but it was so interesting to me as I became an adult and an entrepreneur of like, okay, he doesn't have a class A license to drive a truck, but he owns all these trucks. And
Wow.
so it just blew my mind that you could do that without like, what's interesting is he also told me like you need to be the best at everything in your business, which I don't totally
Mm.
don't understand today because I don't believe that. I believe there if you surround yourself with the right people in a team. Because
Oh.
today he is, him and my mom moved out here as well, and they don't have like a ton to show for like financially all that they did, and I think that's part of it. He wanted to be the best at everything, and it kind of
Oh.
kept him from growing something super big. So
Wow.
he's a hard worker. He showed me how to hustle. He showed me how that relationships matter, and he showed me that you don't have to be the one in the seat to drive the truck to own a trucking company.
Oh.
So I do love that. He was in a lot of businesses like that, and I worked for some of them, learned a lot from him. And like I said, being in an entrepreneur's house, it's like the good, the bad, the ugly. You get to see all the things. When things were going good, it seems amazing, and then it's like they say, drought, feast or famine. So I remember
Wow.
that growing up.
Did you read the book The One Thing?
The one thing, yeah, it's such a good book. Yeah.
I think I was in the elevator with you and you had said this like really profound statement, but you're like, if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. and it's from the book Essentialism. And I was like, ooh, that's so crazy. And I have just met you for 5 seconds, but are you a big avid reader?
Yeah, I read a lot. I read that book every year. That's kind of like one of my entrepreneur Bibles. It really helps me in my life. I no longer play drums. It's partly because of that. Like 3 years ago, I finally hung up the drums because Kiss was just needing more and more of me, and to prioritize my life. Either if I don't prioritize my life, someone or something else will. And it was getting to the point where I was doing too many things and not great at any one thing. And I just
Mm.
love the relationship, love the creative industry. And so I gave up drums, and I had a really great run. I played since I was really young and I loved it. I played some really cool shows and was playing for churches at the end, and I loved it, but it was time for me to move into like really taking the CEO and owner, founder of Kiss, just so much more serious. And since then, the fruit shows. So yeah, I love reading. Essentialism is one of
Wow.
my favorite books.
Oh, that's so crazy. Okay, so you said the last real job was in printing.
Hmm.
So how young were you then, and then how did you start Kiss Books? Did you do anything with the wedding industry before that?
Yeah. So I was 21, 21 when I actually lost my job as a printer.
Uh-huh.
And so 21 years old, and I went straight into photography. I actually
Oh,
started working for my dad's trucking company. So I managed that as well as went right into photography. So in Southern California, there's no real off season. It's like December, you could be shooting on the beach in shorts and flip flops if you wanted
yeah,
to.
it's never
Um,
ending.
yeah, and so I was able to like build my photo business to where I was shooting 50 or 60 plus weddings a year. So I shot
Wow.
around 500 weddings over a 15-year span as a
Wow.
photographer, and that overlapped with what I do now with Kiss. But yeah, I was so grateful to be able to photograph so many weddings and be involved in the industry when it went from film to digital, and
Uh-huh.
just all the changes that happen with technology and things like that. I love, the relationship matters more than anything, and it always has. But I love technology and all the things that are coming along to help us if we allow it to in our business.
Wow. Okay, so back it up a little bit. So,
Hmm.
okay, photographer and for that many years, 500 wedding, that's kind of more than I've shot. But so when was it in the business, the photography business where you developed the Kiss books?
Yeah.
Or did you find like a need in the industry where you just couldn't find like the right albums or someone album company to make it as simple as you did?
Yeah, simple. That's the key word. I love my album company. I used Leather Craftsman back in the day,
Uh-huh.
and they had one on the West Coast at the time, a lab on the West Coast. So I toured the lab. I loved the album. I loved watching those people make them when I got to do a tour and things like that. So I love the album company, but the process, the simplicity of it was not there. It was, this was at a time where fax machines really weren't a thing anymore, and they still were asking me to fax the form in for my order, and so that didn't make sense. And then I was learning to outsource so many things. I had become digital. I was outsourcing my editing. I had a few associates working with me at the time, so I'd outsourced a lot of my company, but I still wasn't able to outsource albums. And I was like, there's no way. Like, I get it. It's a big deal to offer albums. It's not easy. You want it exactly how you want it. Yet I couldn't outsource it. It's just a transfer of skills. Whenever you're showing somebody how to do something, you're just showing them a skill. Here's how you order. But I never trusted it because I didn't even trust it when I sent it in. And
Yeah.
so I was like, there has to be a better way. And that's really where Kiss came from. I was shooting a lot, and realized like there has to be an easier way to get to albums. And I had already made Kiss with Leather Craftsman, meaning I just limited my options. I said I'm only going to offer these things. They offer tons and tons of things. It's fine, but for me, I was like, I'm going to offer these 8 colors and these a
Uh-huh.
couple of sizes, and that was it. And my clients just ordered year after year, 50, 60 weddings, and
Wow.
all of them were getting albums and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I have
I
to say you have the best
started Kiss,
definitely
because of that.
the best colors for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's evolved, and when we first launched, it was one product, an album, a square album, three
Uh-huh.
sizes. We only had 8 by, 10 by, and 12 by, all square. 6 colors. We only had 6 colors when we launched. We had no options, no cameo, no name on the cover. It was wild, but it took off like gangbusters because so many people were in the same shoes that I was in. This is very difficult to get to these beautiful albums. Nothing against the albums, but it was the system that just wasn't there. And technology was to a place where it's like, we should be able to order this online. We just can't. And that's where Kiss came from.
Oh, so interesting. So what does Kiss look like now? Like, I just want to paint the picture for our listeners.
Yeah, I remember the first month we went into business, we sold 36 albums, and that was
Okay.
in May. By December, we were doing 100 albums a month. Now we do thousands a month, and
Okay.
we're coming up on 15 years in business. I've moved the warehouse from Southern California to a spot in Utah, and then to here in Indiana, where I currently reside, and it's been here for about 10 years now. I'm the co-founder, so I started this with my former business partner, and that changed about 5 years ago now. And really, it's come to this place where it's about the system still today. We were the world's simplest book company when we first started. That was our tagline. Now we
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
pursue simple. So we're still in the simple world, but to pursue simple means to create margin in your life. It's not just with albums. So I educate on how to do that in your life as well as how to do that in your business. The wealthiest person doesn't have the most money. They don't. They have the most margin in their life, whether that's time, whether that is money. Somebody that makes $100,000 a year sometimes is seen as successful, but I know people that make $40,000 a year that only spend 20,000 of it, and they are wealthy
Mm,
because they get to
yeah.
do what they want. They have margin in their life. They have a budget, things like that. So we've really moved into that space because creative entrepreneurs, the starving artist is a saying for a reason. And I want to help change that in our industry with the people that choose to be around us and KISS. The people in that circle, we want to create margin, help show them how to create margin in their life and just become successful, no matter how much they make ultimately. And so that KISS has come a long way. We've
Yeah.
always rooted in simple. I love simple. We were just talking about essentialism. It talks about the simplicities of life, and how to make priority a thing in your life. And I love, it's very difficult to get simple. And then when you do, it's almost addictive. It's like, how can I make
Oh,
everything
yeah.
simple? How can I make my refrigerator simple? How can I make my schedule simple? How can I make my budget simple? Once you get it, it's amazing. So we continue to try to make KISS simple, where options aren't the enemy. We just have to make it simple to get those options, the Cameo, so we're actually getting ready to relaunch a new website and book builder in February. It's at least going to be in the first quarter of next year, but we're again trying to simplify what we currently have to make it as easy as possible to get to the album by still making handcrafted, beautiful top level products, the album.
Yeah, I know you've been really big help in the industry and you have that knowledge of making things easier for photographers. And I think by the time that this airs, I have already announced that I'm retiring from wedding
Oh,
photography.
congrats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going full-time coaching, so I'm gonna recommend all my students and my future students KISS books because I want to make their life, like, as peaceful as possible and have them have a sustainable business that they're not feeling, overwhelmed or burnt out, and you know how it is, like,
No, for
it's so
sure.
easy to get in that rut, so, I think this is gonna help them
That's
tremendously.
exciting. Congratulations. That's very
Thank
cool.
you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah, I'm finally taking the leap. It's so scary, but I gotta do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into like your dad,
Mhm.
how he was doing a lot of things, which he was awesome for just not having a degree in it or
Mhm.
trucking, but just kind of doing it. But then he kind of was mastering too many things, and then because of it, maybe it didn't propel him to complete financial freedom.
Yeah.
How did you take that and learn from it and then use it in your own business?
Yeah, I found myself in the same shoes, clearly being raised by, somebody that's like that. I learned a lot of great things from him. But at the end of the day, I was chasing money, and I felt kind of burnt out. I loved photography until I tried to do photography and play drums and, shoot 60, I shot 64 weddings one year and I had started having kids. And so I wasn't doing amazing at any one thing. And so I started to realize like maybe it is the fact that I don't have a priority. I have a list of 20 or 30 priorities. And in that same book, in Essentialism, it says in the 1400s, priority was only a singular word. It meant the next most important thing. There was no such thing as priorities. So nowadays we have our priorities list, and it's
Uh-huh.
10 things or 20 things or 30 things.
Yeah.
That would not make sense to somebody in the 1400s. And so I realized in my life, I want to be amazing. I want to be great at one or two things. And so I was trying to do all the things. There's seasons
Ooh.
in my life where I'd have like 7 or 8 companies and do all these things. And I was like, yeah, there's some that are in front of the others, but there's not one outlier, you know. And so when we hear of people that we may know, like know of, like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, we know that they do one thing and they do it really well. It's funny because those two people, they're really, really good at like visionary dreaming. They're very smart, and they're not even, a lot of times they're not seen as great leaders because they're so smart and they do all these things for that one thing. We know them for that thing. Even leadership sometimes falls short. There's times where I struggle with leadership, and I want to become a better leader. Sometimes it's just better for me to hire somebody that knows leadership really well and helps me
Mm.
as well as they lead the team, you know. So I've started to focus, just like you, more on the photography industry, and sometimes my team struggles because of that. So then I turn to my team and I try and lead them well, and then my clients start to fall to the wayside. So I've decided I'm
Yeah.
going to face the clients, and I will work with my team, but that's why I'm the visionary now. I used to be the CEO, and I was kind of like the everything at my company with KISS. Now I'm like the visionary, and then I work in and for the company in certain areas like education, getting behind the camera, doing stuff like this that I love. But my team, they'd be like, what about us at times? Now I have somebody that specifically deals with culture, deals with leadership, that works with them, and I'm grateful for
Wow.
it. You know, it does take hyper focus to do that. I'm grateful for my
Yeah.
dad, and we've had our good times and our bad times, even in relationships. There's seasons where we didn't talk and things, but I am grateful that he showed me the things that he did, and then I just learned from the things that weren't working for me. And one of those things was I just don't do a lot of things. I kind of pick a lane and I do that one thing as well as I can.
Oh, that's so cool. This is like a perfect conversation for me at this time in my life because it's so scary, but I knew I just had to let go and just
Yeah.
say, like, no more, no more booking because I'm so addicted to like booking, someone wanting me. This is what I've been trying to do for so long. And I'm addicted to the money. I'm
Hmm.
addicted to getting inquiries and people wanting me to be part of their special day. But I think
Yeah.
now it's time to just be that visionary of
Hmm.
my team and helping other people. So yeah,
Yeah.
not being so in like the grind because weddings are so long and I'm gone from my kiddos like so
Yeah.
much. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
I don't
wanted to
mind, like when you say grind or I call it hustle or whatever sometimes. I'm fine with grind or hustle for a season and with a
uh-huh.
purpose. So it is only for a season. Some
Oh,
people are going
uh-huh.
to hustle forever and then we just run into burnout, saying yes to all the things. But if we're going to do it like during a transition or during a time where we want to like create a certain amount of income for a vacation or something like that, I'm fine with hustle for a season, but it has to
Yeah.
have a purpose or we will get burnt out. So I love that you're transitioning right now, because what's interesting, there's certain things that I'm like, there's no way I could give that up because I love it too much. Like photography was one of them. I didn't want to give photography up. Then I finally gave it up, and the space that it created in my head so that I can do the things that I love for KISS made it to where, like, sure, I miss photography, I can still do it as a hobby. I still get to work with so many photographers and kind of live through
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And it created this space for me to do really well with KISS and work for photographers instead of be the photographer. And so everyone has different seasons in their life, but we like to have, as a human, we like to aim. We like to have something to aim at. So if we have a destination, knowing that we're headed to there, it's worth it. If you hit a storm along the way, you hustle
Yeah.
through that storm knowing that you're headed to that destination.
Yes. I
But
see
so
peace.
many
I
times
see
I
the
don't
peaceful
have,
life.
yeah, so many times I
Oh,
don't have the destination. And so I'm out there fighting these storms and I don't know why. If I know where the destination is,
uh-huh.
then the storms are worth me fighting through.
Oh, totally. So I kind of know the answer to this question because your albums are gorgeous and simple process, great customer service. But how do you get your heck yes from your dream clients? Like, what's your biggest sales technique?
Yeah, there's so many times I've been at a booth or at a place like Evolve, and somebody says, why would I use you instead of another album company? And I said, well, what are you looking for? Is the first question that I would ask them
Oh,
back,
uh-huh.
and then I would say, like, I can tell you what separates us. I can tell you about all the quality of our book. When it comes down to it, the quality of our book is not necessarily going to help you sell to your clients. We think it does, but it is about the experience. People
Mm,
remember how you make them feel. They remember that way over what you do. Even as a photographer, I remember being in
uh-huh.
consultations, clearly a lot of consultations with 500 weddings. If somebody would ask me that, it's like, why wouldn't I use somebody else that's more affordable? I say, well, you can, if you would like, but what sets me apart is how I show up in the experience that I'm going to create for you. And then I'd walk them through that experience. With Kiss, you're going to get taken care of from a customer
Yeah.
support team. That's great. But my question typically is, if you could serve every client with an album, would you want to? So if they say yes, and every photographer that I've run into says yes, and I say, like, I can show you how. And that's what's going to separate me as Kiss, because it's like the albums are the albums. I can show you how to sell any album company out there. I can show you how to sell them, but it's not really about that. It's about how you serve your clients. And
Yes.
if you want to serve them, every client with an album, I can show you how to. So I lean into education. I lean
Yes.
into our software to make it to where it's scalable for you.
Yes.
But it's
Uh-huh.
not easy. If you're shooting 30 weddings a year, doing 30 albums a year is a lot of hours, but I can show you a system of how to do it with you or without you. And meaning I can show you how to get it designed with or without you. I can show you how to price it. And then once you've priced it, how to scale that. And so that's what
Yeah.
I do is I really stand in the room with photographers. I show them, if they want to show up and serve all their clients with albums, I show them how to do that. And I have story after story about people that have said yes to that, said heck yes to that, and now they're making so much more money, which isn't always the goal, but they
Uh-huh.
make that is one of the things. If you start serving all your clients with albums, you make a lot more money, but it creates this space for you to be able to do what you want. That's that margin that I'm
Yes.
looking for when I say pursue simple. So that's really what separates Kiss from those
Oh,
out there. And even when
I
I
love
talk to
it.
other album companies, I'm like, you have a great product. um, I would love to even work with some of your clients and show them how to. I have plenty of work to do at Kiss, but there's times where I'm meeting with them and trying to keep that relationship open. I'm like, hey, we are not in competition. I feel like us album companies, I'm not trying to take people from other album companies. I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
show people how to even show up with albums. I'm trying to work with the industry, a huge part of the industry that doesn't even
Wow.
do albums because it's big and scary. So I'm like, cool, if you use Red Tree, they're a great album company. I know the owner, he's a great guy. They create one of the best albums out there. There's no doubt about it. Good choice. I'm not trying to take you from them. If what you have works, great. If you
Uh-huh.
don't do albums or you struggle with albums, I can show you how to show up in your business really well and get a heck yes from your clients, from those brides and grooms that come into your studio. That's what I'm all about.
Yeah, you're a great educator. I mean, you talk to thousands of photographers, so you definitely know like the ins and outs. But let's get into our hot topic. Tell
Yeah.
me about your hot topic and why you chose it.
So, if you could serve every client with an album, would you want to? The reason I chose that is just because knowing that those people that are on here, they are wedding photographers, and knowing where the industry is at and the year that we're coming into is going to be very busy. The struggle is, if I need to make more money, what photographers typically think is I need to shoot more weddings or raise my prices. Cool, that could be true. My question would be, what else could be true? So I've taken somebody that shot 35 weddings a year after year after year, from making a certain amount of money to nearly doubling their income just by adding albums. They were shooting 35 weddings a year in 2018. They sold about 3 albums at not a lot of profit. I showed them my system. They showed those, another 35 clients, same exact number of clients the next year. And they were able to make $60,000 in
Wow.
albums alone by just putting this system in there. So that's what I walk them through. A couple quick tips and tricks for that would be, like, add an album to every one of your packages. And I have this all broken down 100%, but we don't have that amount of time on this. Um,
I have I bought the Just
oh,
Fairchild's
oh
course, so
yeah,
I have the whole system.
yeah. So they took that system and they made it theirs, and I absolutely love that.
Uh-huh.
So they do. They add an album in every one of their packages. I was just with them in Santa Barbara last week, so I know we talk about it all the time. But yeah, add an album to every package. It's scary because it's like, do I have to raise my prices? It's like, not a lot, and you
Yeah.
may not have to at all. Just by adding it, it creates this opportunity for you to serve your clients well. So that's one of the things I would say is, like, add an album to every one of your packages. Another thing I would say is, like, start posting about it. first maybe get a sample. If you get a sample, I'm not trying to sell you a kiss book, whatever company you want to go with, that's fine. Get a sample,
Uh-huh.
order at least one sample, and then post about it. Show it on your
Okay.
website, show it on your social medias, and start talking about it, because your clients are going to come in and ask that question. um, Tell me what your packages, or your what do I get for the money that I'm going to spend with you. If they see an album in every one of your packages, and they've seen it on your social media, and they've
Uh-huh.
seen it on your website, they
Uh-huh.
may still ask that question. Hey, can you take
Uh-huh.
the album out of the package and just charge me less? If they've seen it in all three of those spots and you say no, it's not a big no. It's just like a no, and this is why. Because I want to
Yeah.
create an experience, and I want you to have your work. I want your story printed so you can look at it
Yeah.
every year before you go to dinner to celebrate your anniversary 4, 5, 6 years in. I don't want you to just have to see it on your device
Yeah.
or text me. You've gotten this text a ton of times. You're still shooting. Hey, can you send me a link to my images? It happens all the time. Why?
Uh-huh.
Because they don't have it on their wall, or they don't have it in a book on
Mm, mhm.
their table. So I paint a
Yeah, yeah.
picture and put them on the couch looking through it each year as a tradition.
I
And
do
that's
I do
the
do the same thing. I paint the
yeah,
picture for
that's what
them.
it's about. It's
Yeah,
about
I
that
say, "This
experience
is
that you're gonna create.
this is no Shutterfly, trust me, you're not
Yeah,
gonna make it." I have, brides that I didn't shoot their wedding, they come to me saying, "Can you make me an album?" And I don't, because it's not my photos, but it's just like, "You're
yeah,
not gonna do it, trust me, like, you're gonna get busy after your wedding, there's a lot of other things to do besides making an album, so just leave it up to the photographer that knows your
totally.
photos the best." Okay, so number
100%.
1 tip was to add an album to all your packages and paint the picture, tell them the story, why. And
Mhm.
number 2 was post about it, share about it, put it on your
Yeah.
website, put it on your Instagram. And then tip number 3?
Yeah, it would be like have samples. So I would flip 2 and 3 even. I would say order samples so that you have something to post. We even have photos that we've taken that you can use for your social media until you get samples. But people
Yeah.
love to touch and feel it. So having a sample, even though we're in a time where Zoom may be the way that you meet, showing them, like just pulling an album and starting to show them what they're going to get, even though it's not photos of them. When you see photos of them, then they're sold for sure. But you start to show them that album, now
Uh-huh.
they're way more in. They know
Yeah.
that you believe in it enough to have samples. And then if you ever are in person, or you can get them in their hands at the engagement session or whatnot, showing them, it's why we do test drives in cars. Like
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
they want to put you in that car and get the feeling of a
uh-huh.
fresh new smell car, one that has AC and like seat warmers and a sunroof,
Yeah,
and
the
we want you to
experience.
see all those features, because again, yeah, that's perfect, the experience that you're going to create with them. So I would say have samples, definitely have samples, because I'm not trying to sell you a kiss sample. I'm really not. But the fact that them, if they're able to see and touch and feel it, is the next level as well. If they can do those things, then they're way more likely to understand the value of it. Because if you do put this next to a consumer book out there, they feel differently. You can feel the quality of it. If you put it in their lap, they're going to be like, oh, I can see the value and why you charge what you do for this particular thing. And then you just start to tell them the story. You make them the hero. That's what Don Miller says. Your
Yeah.
story brand,
Story
make
brand. Uh-huh.
them the hero. What is it going to look like when their photos? What is it going to feel like when they're sitting on a couch flipping through the album, remembering what it was like on their wedding day? So those are the three things I'd say. Add it to every single package. Add an album to every package. I can walk you through that. DM me or reach out to my team. We have lots of tools for that. Order samples, and then when you get that sample, do an unboxing and post it on your story on Instagram, or
Yes,
do a
yes.
TikTok about it, because then people are going to be like, what's interesting is when you do that, you're going to get some of the stuff that you just referred to. I've told photographers to do that. They post about it, and then people that follow them, that they didn't even photograph their weddings, they're like, "Hey, I never got an album. Can you do mine?" It's like, well, I need the rights to the photographer and all those
Yeah,
things. Maybe, maybe not.
exactly.
But
Uh-huh.
like, you start showing it, your clients start to expect it, and then with those samples, post about it. Create a spot on your website. We have some great tools for that as well. Just share as many places as possible, because here's the thing: most photographers in our industry, and this is not a dig, this is not like this is not me digging at the industry, most of them are picture takers, because we believe we're a service-based industry. We're called photographers. That's a service. You're going to pay me to take pictures of you, so here's what I charge for that. So I'm going to take pictures and I'm going to give those to you. The dig I will take a little bit is, I
Uh-huh.
believe it could be a disservice to your clients, because that's what they think they're asking you for. But then when they go and try and make an album, it is very discouraging for somebody that's never done an album, never like been a professional photographer, to go and use any software out there. There's some of the best software out there. We've created a system that they can't use, but you can as a photographer. It's simple, but it doesn't mean it's like, it's so hard when you're emotionally attached to those photos to get 100 images,
Yeah.
tell your story. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
So be the professional in the relationship. Instead of being a picture taker that takes pictures and just gives them to your clients, be a creative entrepreneur that creates an experience, that
Uh-huh.
documents it, that then walks them to that finish line, holds their hand and walks them to that finish
Uh-huh.
line, get them the exact album that they want. The finish line being them sitting down somewhere and flipping through, remembering what it was like. What we do for a living is magical. Photographers stop time for us to
Uh-huh.
go back and look at it. That is
Woo!
really,
Yeah.
really cool. There's no doubt
Yes.
about it. So that is a gift. How do you want them to view that? Is it always going to be on a phone? That's fine. These phones are amazing. They're an extension of us. I can not imagine doing life without it. But I don't always want to be looking at my
Yeah.
family photos or my
Uh-huh.
wedding album like this, like flipping through it. Because then TikTok's there, and so is
Yeah.
Instagram, and so is all the other distractions and email and all that stuff. What I want to do is commit to, it's essentialism esque, where it's like I'm going to do this one thing. The priority right now is for me to sit down with maybe my wife, with maybe one of my kids, and flip through my album. And so by doing that, I don't have any distractions other than this right here. So if I sit here and flip through this album, it's an experience that I've created as a photographer for my clients. So by
Yes.
focusing and doing the one next best thing, the
Yes.
experience changes. A focused
Oh,
mind is very hard for it. It's hard for us to be in the present moment. Being anxious, anxiety, depression are a
uh-huh.
thing right now because we have a hard time being in the moment. If we
Yes.
are present and in the moment, it is hard for us to have anxiety because we're not worried about the future or
Yes.
depressed about the things that have happened to us from the past. Now, those are real things. And those, if that's what you deal with, I've dealt with some of that in my past and had to get help for that. There's a reason for it. And I don't have any issues with you having that or dealing with that. Please take care of yourself. I want it to be safe for you. But a lot of those things sometimes can come from just having a hard time being in that moment. And I tell you what, when I have this thing out, I'm very rare. If I have this, we have a rule at our table: no phones at the table, because it's very hard for me to be, even if I'm picking music, but a lot of times I'm looking at an email or something from my client. I'm not present with the people that I'm right in front of.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to create that in our industry. Sure, I own an album company and I can show you how to serve your clients with albums. But really, when it comes down to it, what I care about is your clients. These people, there's hundreds of thousands of Kiss books in the world now because of the company that we have done and the way that photographers have shown up. I can picture them sitting down and flipping through those albums. And that's what I care about, is them having a moment, remembering what it was like on their wedding day when they made these like big commitments to each other, and getting back to that. Like, there's seasons in our life where marriage isn't always easy. And you're
Yes.
like, hey, I don't like you right now, but
Yes.
I remember what it was like to like you because of these
Uh-huh.
photos. So how do we
Oh
get
my
back to
god.
this? And so that's what I'm
Yeah.
committed to and absolutely love.
Oh, that was so good. I wanted to say 2 things. First of all, well, that was so good. When I do have the first call with my clients, I'm not doing it anymore, but I'm teaching my students, but I do really explain the album, like how important it is, like your memories, like it really takes me back to the day, and, like, I just can't believe that was us, like, with, 175 people surrounded us, like, he picking me up, like, going down the grand entrance, with, like, our hands in the air, like, I really can't believe that was us, and it gives me the chills looking at my album. And another thing I wanted to say was, yeah, when I am having a hard day and your marriage is very up and downs, like,
Mhm.
I do look at our album, and it really takes me back to a place where, like, yeah, we were so in love, like, how can we get that back?
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And another thing I wanted to add was, I think what you're trying to do or you are doing, already is you're bringing happiness to a photographer. Like, you're really setting the intention of, "Hey, I want photographers to be successful, but I also want them to have a happy life. I don't want them to be depressed. I don't want them to be anxious. I don't
Mhm.
want them to be overwhelmed." And that's something that's, like, really powerful that I'm gonna take away from this episode with my coaching program. Like,
Mm.
"Hey, I want you to be a successful photographer, but I want you to be a happy person." And that's, not working your ass off where you're completely burnt out to the ground, where you're, like, crying after a wedding. And I think with albums, like, it's gonna help you definitely shoot less and make more. So,
Mhm.
I'm really, proud of what you've accomplished in your business.
Thanks, Carissa. It means a lot that you're hearing those things and going to take it to your coaching and your program, and you did it in your own business. When it comes down to it, the avenue to those happiness is joy. It's having gratitude, and it's just being grateful for that moment that we had together, whether it was like 10 years ago when we got married, or whether it was last week and we're able to see those photos. Like I said, that's magical that we get to do
Oh,
that as photographers. And we also get to take our clients to this finish line where we can put them in that place where it's like, hey, I want to create a tradition in your life. Every year, I want you to sit down at least once and spend some time flipping through your album, remembering what it was like to look at each other that way, because we're not always going to look at each other that way. But I
yeah.
saw the future on the wedding day. It's like everything's magical. You had 175. When's the, you've been married. So you had 175 guests. Are you ever going to buy all 175 people dinner again? Probably not, right?
No.
No,
Go broke.
because it was special. Like you said, I'm going to do this because I want them to come celebrate with me. I want them to see me get married and make this commitment to each other. And so that's a very special day. And so
Yes.
sometimes we look better than we ever have on our wedding. We feel all
Oh,
good.
yeah.
We're making these big commitments. We can see the future in each other. And that's what's beautiful. Even the people there can see the future in your relationship, and they're there to help you cause that. So why not continue to go back to that just to remember, hey, this is our starting point. This is how far we've come, good, bad, and ugly sometimes. But when it comes down to it, I want to look at you like I did in our first dance when I was
Oh,
like, oh my goodness, like I'm so grateful for today. I can see our future. I want to get back to that moment. That is a beautiful
wow.
thing. I'm grateful that you're able to take that to your future clients, as well as like you've done that in your business already. And so thanks so much for recognizing that. And I'm grateful to just multiply that through our industry. For those that want it, for those that want
Yes.
to offer that to their clients, it's totally doable. It's scary.
Yes,
It's a big
you
scary thing
me
sometimes,
I
but
think
it's
me
so
and
worth it.
you yeah, me and you are both connected because, just hearing you right now, like, you are a hopeless romantic. You're in it for the love,
Yeah.
and just like you said, like, when you stop photography, like, you still are a part of all these photographers' lives, so you're still feeling, like, the love in everyone's day, and
Hmm.
printing this to make yeah, we freeze time, and with albums, you really freeze time. But I'm gonna go into some fun rapid fire questions, but
Cool.
the first one is, what is your biggest parenting advice?
Yeah. By far, my biggest parenting advice that I had to learn over time was don't shame your kids.
Okay.
Um, Instead of telling them I told you so, we set rules and boundaries for a reason, but connect with them, get in the issue with them. They know they've messed up. They don't need us to continue to tell them that. They want us to know that we're for them and we're in it with them. So I just stop shaming as much as I can my kids, and I just want to be connected with them. Connection over shame 100% of the time.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, what is BKNU on your sweatshirt?
Yeah, become you. So it's becoming the next version of you. You could be who you want to
Ooh.
be today, and you could be just a little bit better than you were yesterday. You're making progress towards becoming the best version of you. A beautiful you, a patient you, a successful you is inside of you. We just get to carve it out and choose that today or not. It's totally up to us. So become you. That's what it stands for, is just becoming the next version of you.
Oh, interesting. So is that like another company that you're starting?
It's my personal brand. I haven't fully launched it yet, but I've
Uh-huh.
been doing more keynote speaking than I have been doing just on albums. And it's more about the psychology of why we have a hard time showing up for ourselves. So, yeah, it's going to be its own brand. It's bkmu.today, become you today. And I will launch it in the future when I'm doing more speaking. But I started to wear it to remind me when I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh, yeah, I have my to do list and my to be list. I write a to be list each day. And this reminds me, oh, yeah, who do you want to be today? It's not just about getting your to-do list done and making all the money, because if I'm a jerk the whole time I do that, that's not who I want to be. That matters
Yeah.
more than the to-do list. So yeah,
Oh, that's
it's
so
going to become a
good.
thing, and I wear it when I do speaking and stuff like that.
No, I love that. I think, this coaching business has not been easy for me. It's
Hmm.
definitely like a new target market from brides to photographers. And I was running on the treadmill listening to like Hal Edrod, the Miracle Morning guy.
Yeah.
And he said something like, it's not the actual like trying to hit the goal or hitting the goal, it's who you have to become
Hmm.
to hit the goal. And it just like brought me the tears
Hmm.
because just even doing this podcast, like who I had to become to even, you
Hmm.
know, put on these interviews and become a good host. So it was just it's like always becoming like that better
Yes.
version of yourself. So
Yes.
powerful.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so tell everyone like where to find you, your Instagram
Yeah.
handles, and how to get their first album in their hands.
Yeah. So I personally, you can follow me at Shaun Austin, ShaunAustin. I still manage my own Instagram for professionally at Kiss Books. I actually don't manage that one, but I work with the team that does at Kiss Books. You can reach out to us there. Kiss.us is our URL. Go make an account. Reach out to me, DM me if you need any information on it. Our samples are, we discount our samples so that you can start and get in there. But we are here, my customer support team and customer success team is what we're calling it now, to really help photographers succeed, is there to help. My team is amazing. I'm so grateful for them. And they love our industry just like I do. And we want to see photographers succeed. So just reach out to us in any of those avenues. I'll respond to my direct one as of right now at Shaun Austin. And then Kiss will take good care of you as well.
Cool. And lasting words to any wedding professional and wedding photographer,
Yeah.
just in general.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing that we get to do, but it's not always easy. There's seasons that we'll run into burnout, and things in our life start to affect what we have in our professional life as well. Taking care of yourself is one of the most important things. It is the most important asset that you have is you. So make sure to get enough sleep. Make sure to eat right. Make sure to take care of yourself and become the next version of you. Become the best version of you. Because every day we wake up, we have this beautiful thing. Their mercies are new in the morning, which I absolutely love because it's just an opportunity. Things aren't problems. They're either problems or they're opportunities. They're the same exact thing. So I try and see things as an obstacle, and the obstacle a lot of times is the way. It's not a problem. It is a possibility for me to learn and an opportunity for me to grow. There's a beautiful version of you inside you. There's a patient version inside you. There's an amazing parent. There's an amazing partner. There's an amazing, everything is there in you for the taking. And so become that, just carve it out, commit to it, and then show up each day and just become a little bit better than you were yesterday. You may not be that photographer, that name that but I want you to become the best version of you. And so do they. So learn from them, hone your skill, but become you, because that's the one thing nobody can be. Everyone else is taken. So become you. That is a beautiful thing. And I cannot wait to see you become the next version of you.
Yay! Good job, Sean.